I'm Mary Jean Salazar Sharma, and I'm an internal medicine physician and principal investigator here at Albuquerque Clinical Trials.
And I'm Ellen Kim, family practice. Started off in private practice after I left the Indian Health Service, and the private practice that I was working for was affiliated with Albuquerque Clinical Trials. So just happened to accidentally fall into this about in 2000.
Being an internal medicine physician and a family practice physician in training, we are trained in multiple areas. So we have addressed multiple areas of interest. We have done clinical research trials in terms of neurologic trials in depression. We've done trials in postherpetic neuralgia, and we have done several migraine trials as well.
In terms of CNS, it's been primarily migraine trials, postpartum depression, and we have done a couple chronic pain studies as well. I don't think that I could just pick one. Definitely, it's the accumulation of 1,000 different one-on-one interactions with my patients or my subjects. That's been the most gratifying. If we were to discuss just recent CNS trials, working with the CGRP monoclonal antibodies has been incredibly gratifying because we can actually see the subjects do well. We don't see the adverse events, and then we've seen some of them go to market, and the patients are so grateful.
I think something that has been very rewarding in terms of achievement is being able to continue to help patients. You know, in the private care setting, Dr. Kim has worked in hospice, and even in clinical trials, we are still affecting patients and helping them out, particularly here in New Mexico, where there is a shortage of primary care physicians. There is a huge patient population that does not have insurance, and we are still able to provide resources for these patients. So I would say just throughout the years, being able to continue to help patients has been very rewarding.
COVID has had a huge effect, obviously, on everybody in every industry. We're a small business as a dedicated clinical trial site, and so the company has made huge efforts to protect staff and protect subjects, but obviously subject enrollment is down because of quarantining efforts. Sponsors have put trials on hold. But throughout this entire time, we've continued to stay open. But we've implemented a number of safety strategies.
Right. We have continued to stay open. We have continued to see patients. We've implemented changes in terms of remote visiting and virtual visits from monitors. These processes were put into place to adjust accordingly to the restrictions because of COVID. Here at work, people that didn't need to necessarily be on site were able to work at home in order to decrease the number of people here on site. But again, with the office open completely, we have not been closed one day.
The silver lining, in a manner of speaking, of COVID would be that we feel like it's forced the pharmaceutical industry and small businesses, it's forced all of us to be more adaptable, more resilient, and to bring on some of these technologies that have always been there, but for whatever reason, we weren't utilizing them optimally. So now we are using telemedicine much, much more. And then as Dr. Sharma said, we use these virtual visits so that we can do IP accountability with monitors. We can do site initiation visits remotely, and we can really decrease subject burden. They don't have to put themselves at risk to come into the clinic. We can do so many things, a lot of the questionnaires remotely. And so COVID has actually facilitated adopting strategies that actually, in the long run, will probably make clinical trials less expensive to run at all.
So the significance of the investor and site relationship is so important. We have to be seen as a team and working together for the benefit of the study and the quality of the data that comes out of the study. In the past, with certain studies, we've had great monitors who are dedicated and committed. And if there is an issue with something that is happening in the study, for example, we had some e-diary issues, particularly where it wasn't reporting what the subjects were entering. And we were able to reach out to our CRO who looked into the problem and was able to correct it. And so it's very rewarding to work with people who have character that is similar to ours. I mean, we all have the same goal, which is basically to produce good data so that we can put great medications out there.
It's all about communication and respect. And again, if there's an issue at our site, I suspect that issue is actually occurring at other sites as well. So if the CRO listens to us and then they address our concerns quickly, they're saving money for the sponsors and they're helping protect subject safety and data integrity.
The things that we value most from the CROs that we are working with are CROs that listen to our concerns, work with us to address those concerns. If there's a problem, then helping and working with us to rectify any type of problems or issues that we are faced with.
I think it's important for the investigative sites to be able to work with a CRO that has experience. And so for Clinilabs, since they really focus on CNS, then they can pick vendors and sites that can work better together. So they can coordinate things really well, and that's so important to the success of a trial. I feel like the sponsors have their focus, which would be the investigational product and getting that to market, but the CRO's focus is to make the trial work. And then for us, our focus is being in the trenches. It's the subject safety primarily, and then good data. So the CRO can really help translate our issues for the sponsor and present them in such a way that they can be addressed more quickly and more efficiently. So an example would be perhaps if the inclusion or exclusion criteria for a protocol, if there was something that really didn't make sense, the CRO would be the ones providing the CRAs, and in the site initiation visits, we would be able to say, this is different than what we've experienced before, or we've seen this before, but this worked better. And then the CRA can take that information and all the other information that they've gleaned from all the other sites and present that in bulk to the sponsor in such a way that they can do something with the protocol, for example, early on, rather than having multiple amendments later, which each amendment is very costly in time and training, and potentially makes data analysis more difficult as well. So I feel like the CRO is working with the sites because they're the focal point in the funnel of all the information going to the sponsors. They can make a huge difference in what the sponsor sees as important or not. In terms of the future of clinical trials and the role of technology, especially in CNS trials, I feel like technology can ease patient burden hugely, because CNS indications, whether it's depression or migraines or multiple sclerosis or post-stroke or dementia, those are subjects for whom transportation alone is incredibly difficult. So to ask them to come on site for visits is asking a lot, but they're the group of people who are going to benefit most, probably from technologies, telehealth, virtual visits, electronic data capture, like the ePros. Those are the patients that are going to really benefit from technologies in trials.
previously, a lot of older patients did not have a lot of the advanced phones, and now as they've become more user friendly, we do see a larger population of people that are familiar with them, with all of the technologies, and they feel very comfortable using it. As you know, with clinical research, they do come to frequent visits, and we are frequently reaching out, and I think with the advances, they're not necessarily having to make as many visits, but yet we can be in touch with them. With Clinilabs, they were excellent in studies that we worked with them on. They were very hardworking and dedicated to the study and to us, and it was very evident. We did happen to have a monitor who was having some health issues, but it was not evident at all with the quality of work that she did. She has always been accessible. She was out here for every visit that she needed to be out here for. When there were issues, she was very receptive to hearing issues that we've had, and those issues were all rectified. And, hence I think the study was a great study. So it was just so rewarding to work with someone like that. I think what makes a good CRO is definitely experience. They know which vendors to match or which vendors to pick or match with sites. I think the staff that they have with the CRO is important. If they do have dedication, if they do have the same goals, they understand the bigger picture of the whole process of clinical research. Everybody has a job to do, but the big picture needs to always be kept in mind when we are doing research. And I think a good CRO always keeps that in mind. They know their role. Everyone is an important part of the team, and we all have to work together, listen to each other, and just try to ensure that we're producing the best data so that we can bring out new medications.
Right. I just thought of a good analogy. Okay, it might not be a good analogy, but I'm watching this Netflix Last Dance with Michael Jordan, and I know nothing of basketball, but it seems as though Clinilabs as a CRO is kind of like the team coach, and then the sites are the players. So you're Michael Jordan, I'll be Scottie Pippen, but the coach is imperative. It doesn't matter how good the team players are, and it doesn't matter who the owners of the team are in terms of the sponsors. If you don't have a good coach, you can't bring it all together, and Clinilabs is able to do that because of their experience.
I honestly think of CROs almost like a translator, just because the sponsor usually has this idea of how they want everything done, and they almost envision their subjects as being in a test tube. They have to be so controlled. And then at our end, we actually see the reality of patients and subjects with these problems, and they are in fact not in a test tube. So, we try to maintain that research study as much as possible, but CROs are able to understand and almost translate back and forth so that the sponsor understands the reality of the patients we're seeing, and so they can translate that to the sponsor. They can also translate what the sponsor really wants with us here at the sites working with the subjects. And so they're that in-between person that really just is the glue that holds it all together. And so we really need to have a relationship on both fronts, but we really need to be able to understand each other. And that's why a good CRO and the relationship is so beneficial.
I think there are a couple things specific to Albuquerque clinical trials that make us special for subjects and for sponsors. So for sponsors, we have, probably over 40 cumulative years of experience between our principal investigator, sub-investigators, and the coordinators. So the person who started this company, she started this over 25 years ago, and she's still involved to this day in trainings, and she is so experienced. So we're a dedicated trial site, so we are very proficient with our trials, but we have a sister clinic, so we have our referral base and their referral base as well, and their primary care. So from the sponsor perspective, they have a dedicated clinical trial site with experience with multiple indications. We're often high enrollers, and we are very good with our metrics. And from a subject perspective, I feel that they know that we care tremendously. We spend a lot of time with each individual subject. They get so much extra care and explanation, and they really enjoy it.
I think the other benefit of Albuquerque Clinical Trials is our size. We are not such a large entity that change is, impossible or difficult to do, but yet we're not so small that we cannot handle a diverse type of studies or multiple studies going on. When COVID came about, we really were proactive, and we honestly have continued to see subjects in a safe atmosphere. We've been able to continue with our studies, screening and randomizing patients. We've been able to attain more studies during this time. And so I think the size of our clinic is so important, because we can give that personal attention to subjects so that they really feel comfortable here. And yet with the CROs and the sponsor, they know that we're still doing excellent work.
So for patients in New Mexico, especially, as Dr. Sharma was saying earlier, a lot of patients here don't have access to health care. There's a high turnover of primary care providers. A lot of people don't have insurance in general. Or they just suffer from some malady and they haven't been able to get the relief that they really need. So for people to participate in clinical trials, they have that opportunity to try something that they haven't tried before when maybe nothing else has worked. And then they also have the satisfaction of knowing that they're contributing to science and medicine in general, and their friends and families and communities that might also have similar diagnoses.
When patients participate in clinical trials, they're educated on their disease. It's very interesting that a lot of times people will know that they have a problem, but they don't know much about it. And so because we are interested, they become interested. And so I think, they learn more about what options they have. They learn more about their disease process. They learn about the medications that they're taking and how it can be beneficial for them. Even just the feeling that they get from contributing to science, they benefit because they're hopeful that, there will be more options for them in the future.
Right. We do encourage subjects to ask for copies of all of their labs and any EKGs, any of those things that we do here, because that's free for them. And then we tell them, establish your own shadow file. Every human being should have their own medical file so that they don't have to go to multiple different emergency rooms or hospitals or physicians to get their records. And then we discuss the results with them as well. It just benefits them overall in terms of their health care and their confidence level in speaking to their primary care providers as well. It's so important to raise awareness about clinical trials. There's so much misinformation, and we need to let primary care providers and patients know how medications really do come to market and the stages that they go through, so that they can make informed decisions about the medications that they're taking, for example. The more primary care providers are willing to co-manage patients with us, and the more patients are willing to participate in clinical trials, the more diverse population we're going to have, so the more accurate data is going to be. And so in the long run, everybody will benefit. But I think that there is a lack of diversity in some of the data that we've had in the past with previous clinical trials, where they really focused on males, Caucasian, certain socioeconomic strata, people that were more willing to participate in clinical trials, when really we needed a much more diverse subject population. The more people know about clinical trials and how they work and the safety that we practice, the more likely they are to be involved